Thank you for tuning in to the Christian Authors on Tour CAOT TV show. I am one of your co-hosts, Lynn Pender, and I have another gentleman here with me today, none other than Pastor Kevin Wayne Johnson.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
How are you? Looking forward to another great show.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
Absolutely. And we have a wonderful woman of God here, and we're going to talk about her a little later on.
Yes.
Good morning. But we have to do a little bit of housekeeping. We want to just share some great information with you before we move forward. Those of you who tune into the Christian Authors on Tour CAOT TV show know that Christian Authors on Tour is a group of Christian authors, male and female, who use writing, fiction and nonfiction, as a tool for Christian ministry. We've been around, Pastor Johnson, for
2009.
Yeah.
I remember exactly.
Actually, we started in 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
so this is actually 10 years
10
for
years.
us.
Okay.
Now, the Blog Talk radio show
Right.
started in 2009.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's still going strong, right?
Well, where's our 10th anniversary cake? Let's have a cake cutting ceremony.
Maybe we'll
Cake is always good.
maybe we'll try. Maybe we'll aim for that in 2019.
Okay.
Because you know what's
Wink,
happening in
wink,
2019, right?
I understand.
So we have this huge kickoff that we're gearing up for in 2019. It's our multi-state Christian book tour that we're looking forward to. We're hoping, trying to finalize tour stops in Savannah, Georgia, and St. Louis, Missouri, in Harlem, New York, and of course Baltimore, Maryland. Perhaps in Washington, D.C. We're still working on that one, and a few other cities as well. And so we're really excited, and maybe we could get some, anniversary cake in.
Oh, yeah.
We'll make it the 11-year
Let's
anniversary.
transition from maybe to will. And I do believe that the Washington, D.C. event will happen because I just communicated with Antonio again this week.
Yes.
So he asked me for recommendations for a good editor,
Yes.
for another good writer,
Yes.
and for a literary agent. And I was able to pass it on to him. So I believe that will probably materialize as well.
Yes. So we're really excited. So if you want to keep in contact with us to find out what's going on, please visit us online at www.christianauthorsontour.com. If you want to tune into the Christian Authors on Tour Blog Talk radio show, we air live the first, the third, and the fifth Friday of every month on Blog Talk Radio. And so you can tune in there. If you're interested in being a guest, that's actually one of the free opportunities that we provide for Christian authors. And over the years, people have said, you should charge for that. And I said, no, I want to keep something free. I want to be able to be a blessing in some kind of way. And so we do that through the Blog Talk radio show. And then we have an opportunity for authors to come on the CAOT TV show. And it is a paid interview, but it's a good investment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Very nominal cost.
Absolutely.
With a very wide reach.
Absolutely.
And a wonderful studio.
Yes, the WBGR Gospel Network. I'm just really pleased. We're really excited to start our first TV show and to have the opportunity to grow with a network like this. It's just amazing. And so if you haven't had the chance to tune in, we've been live on the WBGR Gospel Network every Friday since
July the 6th.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes.
First Friday in July.
Yes. And you can actually go to YouTube and do a CAOT TV search, or you can go to caottv.blogspot.com and you can actually watch past episodes and reruns, right, Pastor
Absolutely. We all do.
Yes. But if you're able to, you can watch us live every Friday on the WBGR Gospel Network on Facebook. And, if you're saying, I'm not an internet person, but I still want to reach out to you, we have a telephone number. It's 800-929-1418, 800-929-1418. And we, as I mentioned, we're gearing up, Pastor Kevin, for the 2019 Multi-State Christian Book Tour, but this 2018 year has been pretty active for us as well, right?
Absolutely, especially with the addition of the TV show, because it's every Friday,
Yes.
9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. But can I announce the big event that's coming up
Yes.
on the 14th of October? So coming up soon and really soon, like within the next 2 to 3 weeks,
I can't believe
we get an
it.
opportunity to honor the women of the Christian Authors on Tour.
Yes.
We'll be featuring a number of our lady authors that will be coming forth by way of a panel discussion, open dialogue and conversation about the wonderful books that they've written, as well as their ministry.
Yes.
Sunday, October the 14th, it's going to be over at the Quality Inn Hotel in Woodlawn, Maryland, just outside of Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes.
5 o'clock in the afternoon till 7 o'clock in the evening. They get an opportunity to showcase all of their great work, and we want you to join us in supporting them.
Absolutely.
We want to hear from them. We want to give them a big hand clap. We want to give God the glory for the work that He has put into them and that they are putting out.
Thank you, Lord.
We'll have some scrumptious food that will be there.
Yes.
It will be live on Facebook. It will also be recorded as well.
Yes.
So come on out. And the other good thing about it, it is FREE. It's
Say that
free.
again. Yes.
It doesn't cost you a dime. Right? We're going to have some fellowship and fun. We're going to learn. We're going to encourage and motivate and inspire each other.
Yes.
So mark your calendar, Sunday afternoon, October 14th, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, all the way up until 7 p.m.
Yes.
The ladies of the Christian Authors on Tour will be on display.
Absolutely. And we want you all to come out and also to be a blessing. Whenever we do events through Christian Authors on Tour, we always try to sow a seed.
Yes.
And so at this particular literary event, our missions outreach is someone and something that I know that's very dear to you, but it's the Covered Bridge, Praising Through Recovery.
Right.
And so we're asking participating authors and attendees that when you come, that you also bring a donated good. If you don't know, Covered Bridge is a transitional home for women who are victorious in their walk out of recovery.
Yes.
And so anything that you could think of that a woman might need who lives in a transitional home, shampoo, conditioner, sanitary napkins, even the household products, kitchen cleanser, bathroom cleanser, paper towels, tissue paper, anything like that. But Praising Through Recovery has a wish list. So you can go to their website, www.praisingthroughrecovery.org. Click on the wish list tab, and there's a whole list of items. And we're encouraging you to bring something, one thing or two, with you to the event in October. And we will have a representative there to actually receive the gifts. And so we're really excited about that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So come on out and support. We're going to have a great time.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. And so that takes us to our moment and our featured author for today.
All right. Well, this morning we have a dynamic woman of God who's with us. We have Reverend Pamula Hammack.
Yes.
She's an associate pastor at her church. She's an ordained minister. She holds a certificate in religious studies, bachelor's degree in theology from Eastern Maryland Theological Seminary, and founder of Wind of Change Ministries, a nonprofit ministry to women. Now, I'm not going to read the entire bio because I want her to share in her own words, but she's tackled a number of different areas of ministry.
Yes.
She's blessing us this morning with this wonderful smile. She's an author as well, knows the word, and with no further ado, I would like to welcome to the program Reverend Pamula. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor Johnson.
Yes.
Lynn, thank you so much for the invitation.
Yep. And what I would like for you to do as a first question is just tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you arrive to where you are today?
Well, that's a long journey, so we'll keep it short.
Right.
But I'm a PK.
Okay.
And the eldest of 6 children to my mom and dad, overseer Clarence Yerby and Dr. Dolores Yerby. And so we were raised in the church. And that's where I got my background in Jesus. They taught me the fear of the Lord. And I am forever grateful for that. And I thank God that I've never looked back. I wasn't always saved, like some people say.
Yes.
but I thank God
Yes.
because they've laid that foundation.
Yes.
And so through the journeys of life, the different things that I've experienced or whatever, God has always been with me. And He has impressed on me the importance of putting Him in everything, everyday life.
Yep.
And it's not the path that I would have chosen to be pastor, but it's what God chose for me. And so I'm learning to walk this journey, and I just want to be faithful to Him.
Good.
And out of my adversity, this book was born.
All right.
Mhm.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
yes. So talk to us a little about that title, Flying with One Wing.
Well, my shower is the place where God gives me the big things in life. And it was in the shower one morning that I heard in my spirit, flying with one wing. And at that time, I didn't know what it was. Being a preacher, you think everything is a sermon.
Right.
So,
Yes.
so I figured, okay, this must be a sermon. But instead, the Lord, He led me to write my testimony.
Yes.
And at the time when I wrote the testimony, I was actually in a mental health facility. It was an adult day program. And so, and after I wrote my testimony, He also led me to read that testimony the next day in support group, and which I did. And I had no idea the profound effect that my testimony would have on those people. And even myself, I didn't know what God was doing. And it was from that place that God birthed Flying with One Wing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. The significance of that Flying with One Wing, for me, it was mental illness.
Yes.
I did not know that I was broken in my mind. And, God's ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts.
Right.
But I do know that the path of a good man, the steps of a good man, a good woman, are ordered by the Lord.
Amen.
And God ordered my steps through that painful process of being diagnosed with depression and anxiety. But there was a purpose for my pain. He took me in and He brought me out so that I could have empathy, more
Yes.
empathy and more
Right.
love, more compassion and
Yes.
caring
Yeah.
for not just people who suffer from mental illness, but from people broken in all areas.
Yes.
So all of us are flying with one wing. We're flying with brokenness, and
Yes.
that flying means that we continue to go higher and higher, and that the Lord takes us from one place to another place.
Yes, He
That
does.
life doesn't have to stop. Life didn't have to stop for me in that place of brokenness, but He taught me that I could fly even with that one way.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yes.
Share with us, if you don't mind, what would you say would be, say, the top 2 or 3 lessons that you teach people from
Okay.
what you just articulated?
Okay. I guess it would be in two parts. For the individual, it would be to don't ignore warning signs.
Yes.
God always gives us warnings about
He does.
everything in life.
Yes,
And we just seem to think we can just keep running and not take care of ourselves.
Right.
We need to take care of our physical bodies, and now I'm learning our mental and emotional state is
Yes.
most important.
The mind of Christ.
Yeah, it's to take care of those things.
Yes.
So I'm not perfect in that, but I do know that those are things that I really need to zero in on. So that was one thing. For what I try to relate to others is that we need to pay attention to the people around us.
Yes.
God has also given me a message, especially to the church. I had no idea that there were so many people suffering from or caring for family members or friends that were suffering in the area of mental illness or mental challenges. I found it out once I started telling my testimony, and so many people could relate to what I was saying. And so it just led me to believe that in the church we have stigmatized mental illness, we have demonized mental illness, but God says not so. Not so, that his grace is sufficient even for mental illness, and we need to pay attention.
Absolutely. For someone who might be watching today and that struggle with mental illness is very real and very present for them, what word of encouragement or advice would you offer to them?
I would say, first of all, just know that God hasn't left you.
Amen.
I had sunk to the deepest, darkest place in my life. But it was in that deep pit of darkness that God met me. God is not afraid of mental illness. He's not afraid of darkness. And the light is always dispelled. The darkness is always dispelled when the light comes in. So just know that you are not alone, that God is with you, and know that there are other people that are dealing with the same types of situations. I would also counsel you that if you have not already, to seek psychiatric help. There is help for you, good help for you. Like I said, for too often we've put a stigma on mental illness, and we've not told people that they can go get this mental health help that's there. And so I would say get the help. If you are already getting help, I say stay on the treatment plan. Don't veer away from it. Make sure that any changes you made to medications or regimens or whatever that have been set in place by those professionals, that you follow them to the best of your ability. Don't make any abrupt changes. Don't take it on your own, but allow God to use the wisdom that he's given you when you do those things.
Amen. That's good advice.
And do you see the same trends that you see in the church, in the prisons, in the schools, in the community organizations, that are just basically everywhere that you go?
Just everywhere. Everywhere. We're like I said, we're all broken in so many places. And brokenness is not a respecter of persons. It's an equal opportunity employer.
It is.
We're all shaking our heads.
That's right.
Yes. And so, know, we need to just come together and realize and recognize that God, his grace, I'm telling you, his grace is just amazing.
Yes, it is.
His grace, always heard about the favor of God and the grace of God, but I did not really, and I still don't know all that it entails, but I know a little bit better now about God's grace than I did before this journey started.
Well, it goes back to your earlier point. He's always teaching us something.
Always teaching.
Always
Teaching.
Our job is just to pay attention.
Yes.
And when we don't, he sure has a way of making sure that he gets our attention.
Yes, he does.
Well, I mean, it's the simplicity of how he works. I mean, we're his children. He's our heavenly Father. So those of us who are parents, we deal with our natural children the same way, right? When they obey, they're protected, and when they disobey, they're corrected. God does the same thing with us.
He does, and his love is so wide and so all-encompassing. You know, he loves us when we don't love him back. He loves us when we rebel and when we're disobedient. He doesn't take his love away. But you're right. In love, he corrects us. He chastens those that he loves. And his desire is that we always have the best that life can offer us. You know, for each one of us, we have have these different paths.
Yeah.
And my best is going to look different from yours and yours and yours.
Yes.
But Jesus said, I've come that they might have life and life more abundantly.
Ah.
And that eternal life began the moment that I accepted him.
Yeah.
You know, eternal life is not just waiting for me after he calls me home or when the rapture. I'm already living in eternal life
Yes.
because I shall not die, but I will live
Yes.
here on earth, declare the works of the Lord, and when he's ready to call me home, then I will sleep away into his arms.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Lynn said, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So one of the things that I want to bring attention to is this beautiful cover.
Oh, thank
And
you.
so I want you to talk a little bit about your publishing process and what
Okay.
that looked like for you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, God led me to write my first book. I believe it was probably in 2015, almost a year, I guess, after my the crisis,
Yes.
mental health crisis, and it was a small book. I think you saw that book.
I remember.
And actually, when I wrote that book, that's when I had this desire that one day I want to be on that Christian authors tour. So,
Yes,
so
thank you, Lord.
I am so grateful now that God has finally
Yes.
put me in a position that I have
Amen.
something that I can offer to that, and I'm really excited about that. So, but then in about 2016, I guess, or 2015, 2016,
Yes.
I knew that was not the end. I knew that there was a bigger book. And this book, Flying with One Wing, tells more. It's a transparent story. It's a book of deliverance. Because even as working through my own fear, even though it was painful for me to write,
Yes.
I tell a lot of my journey. But that process led me to Author House Publishers, because I knew I wanted to have a global presence. I knew I was just getting started, so I figured Zondervan or anybody wasn't going to pick me up. So
Might be
I could,
surprised.
right? But I can do all things
Yes.
through Christ, and so I started with the
Absolutely.
self-publishing.
Okay.
And as the Lord would have it, when I made that first phone call, I got in just as they were about to close a special promotion.
Wow.
And so I purchased the package then, but it wasn't until 2018, January, that this book actually came out. So, you know, I say to you that once you start that process, don't give up on it.
Right.
Just keep writing,
right.
you know,
Keep moving
and
forward.
keep moving
Yes.
forward and working. Write something every day is what they always tell me. Now, I didn't always do that because, but write something every day.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
It's tough.
It's
It is.
very tough.
Because I'm in the process of, with my publisher, they've asked me to go back and rewrite chapter 1, just revise it and modify it.
Yeah,
And it's tough.
it's tough.
Because
Yes.
you have to get mentally
Yeah,
prepared.
and to go through the editing process, because
Exactly.
I didn't edit it.
Yeah.
I did get someone to edit it for
Yeah.
me,
Yep.
and you know, to look at somebody just chopping up your work. It's just like,
Yeah, I didn't write that.
okay, right. And then ask you the hard questions. What did you
Yes.
mean? It
Right.
made sense when I wrote it, but
Right,
Absolutely.
exactly.
then looking back, I have to look with new eyes,
Right.
as if I'm the
Right.
reader for the first time.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But a good editor helps us to grow as authors.
Absolutely, yes.
Indeed.
So what's the title and subtitle of the next book?
You know, I don't know. There is so much in me. People have asked me that.
Right, right.
In the process of this, my husband passed away. And so people have wanted me to write something on grief.
Right.
And widowhood, so that's there. But actually, there was something that I was starting before this that I thought would have been my first book, and that was a book. It's actually a workbook for women called Paradise Lost, Paradise Gained, where I talk about the bad girls of the Bible and the good girls of the Bible, and it's a workbook where we can where I fictionalize their stories, but it's biblically based,
Yes.
and then leave way for, as the woman, connect ourselves with those women, because we are a lot like those women.
Yes, we are.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
things have not changed. Some things just don't change, but it helps us to find
Yes.
where we are, and then find God in those places,
Good.
and then victory and triumph.
Good.
Yes,
Excellent.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so,
And you have a gift that you want to share to our viewers?
I do.
Yes.
I do. So, I do have, for anybody that would like to have a copy of Flying with One Wing, and you're a great ebook person, you or whatever. I have an ebook offer, so I'm going to be leaving this with Lynn. And so, if you would like to have a copy of Flying with One Wing, and it's part of your digital file, I have this right here for you. I believe that this book will be a blessing to you. So I want to get it into your spirit to help you.
All right. And you know, Pastor Kevin, I think what I'm going to do is, we have a very active group of people who sometimes post comments on the WBGR Gospel Network page. So the first person that posts a comment today will receive that gift.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be great.
Yeah.
And
All right.
since there is a prayer that God gave me in the print
Amen.
copy, so
Yes.
I'm just going to read it to you, to that winner. And may God's love, which is lavish, His mercy, which is marvelous,
Yes.
His grace, which is glorious, His salvation, who is Jesus, His peace, which is perfect, be yours throughout your life. Amen.
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 Amen. Amen.
Now, are hosts eligible for the prize?
I don't think so.
Well, listen, if you don't ask,
Oh, right. You have not because you asked
there
not,
you
right?
go. There you go. Right. What words of wisdom do you have for our listeners as it relates to your journey, your life's journey?
Yes.
Don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quit. You will reach hurdles. There will be bends
Yes.
in the road, but you cannot stop.
Yes.
You will never know where the journey ends and the gloriousness of that journey if you stop.
Amen.
God allows these things to mold us and to shape us
Yes.
into better selves.
Yes.
And He wants to shape us into the image of His Son Jesus.
Yes.
Jesus didn't stop. Even the Garden of Gethsemane was a good place to stop. His flesh wanted to stop,
Yes.
but His spirit said nevertheless. And so just remember, nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done.
All right.
Yes,
Good,
yes.
good.
And so if folks want to follow up with you, if they want to purchase a copy of this book, if they want to invite you out as a guest speaker, how can they do that?
Okay. You can always email me. That's the best place. And my email address is preacherpam@gmail.com. That's preacherpam@gmail.com. If you are interested in contacting me to come present or anything, send to that email, and I will certainly forward it to the people on my team who can make that happen for you. I'd love to get this book in your hands. I really would,
Yes.
because I believe it's going to be a blessing. God has given me great reviews and great testimonies of people whose lives have been blessed as a result of reading the book.
Excellent, excellent. And I know Lynn asked you a little bit earlier the vision with the cover. But speaking of the cover,
Yes.
walk our authors through the process of how a writer usually, not always, but usually thinks about coming up with the cover.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, for this cover, it was a collaboration between myself and the graphic artist. I wanted to come up with a cover
Yes.
for myself, but
Mhm.
I'm not that creative. So, I'm wordy.
Right.
And so I told her my story,
Mhm.
told her the basics of the book.
Yes.
And she took what I told her and she designed it. And then we worked together. Originally, she did not have these broken wings.
Okay.
And the little butterflies were flying with both their wings.
Yes.
But I did ask her about taking one of those wings away. The hands, which represents the hands of God. We know you can't see a spirit or whatever.
Yes.
But these hands are just to let us know that God won't let us fall and that He always has us.
Yes. Well, listen, what a wonderful way to close out the interview. God will never let us fall.
Never let
Yes,
us
and
fall.
even when it
Absolutely.
feels like we've hit rock bottom, we really haven't.
Right.
He's here, right?
Oh, that's right.
So we just want to thank you,
Thank
Pastor
you so
Pam.
much for inviting me. I appreciate being able to be on.
Yes.
We appreciate having you. And
Thank you.
Pastor Kevin Wayne Johnson, just thank you for
Thank
co-hosting.
you. Hey, thank you for being the visionary and for being such a great leader that we want to follow.
Amen. Amen. And thank you, our viewing audience, for tuning in. Of course, we want you to buy Pastor Pam's book, but you can come out and meet Pastor Pam. She is one of the leading ladies of Christian Authors on Tour, October 14th, Woodlawn, Maryland. For more information, visit www.christianauthorsontour.com. And until next time, God bless. Remember to support and pray for Christian authors, but most importantly, we want them to read the most important book of all, and that's the Holy Bible.
Amen.
We want you to find a scripture, hide it in your heart, and live it. Until next time, God bless.
God bless.